Welcome back to LFC Transfer Room, where we're powered by passion, fueled by facts. I'm your host, Charlie Sehdeva, bringing you the latest news, analysis, and transfer updates straight from the heart of Anfield. Let's dive in. I'm joined by the brilliant Matty, who last time that we actually spoke, Matty, it was a very, very special occasion. And we're not talking about birth of children. We're not talking about wedding days. We're talking about Liverpool winning the 20th league title. You had just come back from holiday after a massive bender, but yet you were still there representing on the streets of Liverpool. Yeah, and you came on and you spoke to us and you brought a tear to my eye. How are you, Matty, after all this time?
All right, I'm okay.
It's one of those, yeah, I remember.
I'm still on a high, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm still on a proper high. It was probably one of the best weekends ever. When we winning the league doesn't get better.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because Slot came out today or yesterday over the last couple of days, and he said that he had essentially a mega holiday for 6 weeks, enjoyed the league, and then come pre-season tour, he was like, right, focused, I moved on. And it's old news. As a fan, we're always going to be keep on, talking about number 20, and obviously there's significance of number 20 now for the club. But do you still have the same feeling? You're saying that you do. I guess it will, especially Anthony. I will come to you about this one as well. Is the gold badge that's going to be on the new home shirt that's coming out next week or in a couple of days' time? Are you guys going to be pre-ordering? Anthony, you're going to pre-order the new kit with the golden badge?
I will be, of course. I remember the last time we won the Premier League, I got the home away third kit. Henderson, Keita, and Thiago on the back of them. So I'll probably do the same this year. I think they've got a nice tribute going
for
Thiago
trio.
So I'll get him on the back of the home shirt, and then Florian Wirtz, and then I'm going to wait for Isak because I'm hoping he comes and I'll get him on the third shirt. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the new kit because, in my opinion, it's one of the best kits we've released in some time. Like, I've had a few on and off ones, but I think Adidas normally do a brilliant job, so I think they've smashed it. But obviously, we've seen enough leaks by now, and yeah, I'm happy with them.
Yeah, well, Matty, what about you? I know it's a bit of a segue compared to what we were going to be doing. There was something on social media recently about how old you should be or could be to have another man's name on the back of your shirt, and whether you should be wearing football kits. You're okay with wearing a Liverpool kit these days, right?
I never buy the Liverpool top ever.
No?
I'll wear
got plenty behind you, signed and.
Yeah, I'll get them signed. I'll get them for the baby, so the baby will get all free gold badge. Yeah. Obviously, it'll be his first one with a gold badge. That'll be hung up next season. But the last Liverpool kit I bought was the cream one that Nike released. So, if it's an absolute banger, I probably will buy it. So I really like that green one. I'll probably get the green one. I'm not a fan of the white one. And then the home one is gorgeous as well. But I don't really get them, to be honest. I wear like classic football shirts, to be honest. So I'll wear like all classic ones. So I'll probably have this shirt in about 20 years' time. But if we win the league, I'll buy it.
Well, if you buy it now, and it will hold its value for 20 years' time when your little lad is going to be 20, 21, 22. And I think that's absolutely a great little hand-me-down as such.
That's a good idea. So I've been keeping all of his kits so that when he has kids, he can put his kids in them. So I didn't think to get them for myself and then let him wear the kit. That's a good idea, that, Charlie.
There you go. We're going to start a trend. Hand me down to your kids. Right, we're gonna get into some serious talk. We're gonna have a bit of a fun situation, a fun chat amongst us, knowledgeable peers. There was an idea around just that I threw out. Instead of just talking about the game and whatnot, I'm going to put on my sporting director hat. You guys are going to put your sporting director hat, and we're going to try to work out how Liverpool are going to be signing Alexander Isak from Newcastle this summer. And there's different scenarios, and I just want to get your thoughts about how we actually can do that. And the happy path would be, I would assume, to keep everybody happy, is Newcastle going to be signing a striker. Now, guys, that's going to be the best way for Liverpool to be able to sign Alexander Isak with little fuss, little issue from Newcastle. The question is, from a Newcastle perspective, they're going for Sesko, I guess. And Anthony, I guess, how achievable is that? Is there other options that you can think of that have been banded around? What's the kind of the best way that Liverpool can actually do that?
I think you've pretty much hit the nail on the head, though. So if they don't get Sesko, then it's kind of like, who else is out there? But I think it was David Ornstein or Fabrizio Romano recently just said that they've agreed, not personal terms, sorry, they've agreed the transfer fee, wages are going to be no problem with Sesko as well. However, I think if you got a choice of Man United, as bad as they are at the moment, versus Newcastle, I think you're going to go to Man United. Not just because of, they're a bigger club, but I just mean like, well, actually, yeah, because they are a bigger club. You know, no one looks at Newcastle and thinks, oh, you know, you've not grown up dreaming of playing for Newcastle. But players do that for Man United. You know, we've seen it with Lenny Yoro last season, turned down. I'm not sure if he turned down us specifically, but like Real Madrid, he had the opportunity to go there. He did have the opportunity to come to us and maybe a few more top teams, and he picked Man United, even though everyone else can see it. They're not the greatest team at the moment, and obviously the league table suggests that now, and they're even losing the Europa League final to Tottenham. But I think Sesko ends up at Man United. Like you've said, are there any other alternatives out there? I think if there were alternatives out there, then maybe we would have turned our head towards them as well, because it's much cheaper than Isak. So I don't think there are, but I've seen the Fulham striker, Muniz. He's been linked with them if they don't manage to get Sesko, but I don't know. But it just seems like no one knows what's happening. I remember at the beginning of the transfer window, it's fully not for sale. Isak wasn't. Then all of a sudden he's got 150 million price tag. Now all of a sudden he's not training with the Newcastle team. So it's like every week there's a new update with it. So we're all hoping obviously we can land Isak. I'd rather see them get Sesko than Man United, yeah. And then obviously we can land Isak.
Matty, should we as Liverpool Football Club be really nice big brothers for Newcastle and give them a certain Darwin Núñez? And would Newcastle be that desperate, considering the miss that he had today in against Yokohama? I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a classic. It's typical good old Darwin Núñez. Do you think there's an opportunity there to say you're really kind of struggling with trying to find a striker? Maybe there's that Newcastle game where he scored 2, kind of retreat, and you kind of conjure up good memories of Darwin scoring good goals. What do you think? Is that a good opportunity for them?
I can't see it. I think the problem with Newcastle is, like what Anthony said, the United are a bigger club in terms of Sesko, but I think as a whole, Newcastle are targeting players that are probably above their level. So I think Newcastle are currently building. I do believe Newcastle, they've got the money too. I think they're going to be like City, who in 5, 6, 7 years, they are top 4 challengers, they are challenging for the league. But if you're Benjamin Sesko and you're going from a team that's persistently, you wouldn't say challenging in Germany because you're always behind Bayern Munich, but they're in Europe, they're a big side, they're a big franchise, and usually when you leave Leipzig, you go into a bigger project. And I don't think Newcastle's a bigger project than Leipzig, to be fair. I think it's a step down in his career, and yeah, they've got European football this year, but I just don't think if he goes there, that's another stepping stone for him. If he goes there and does well, then he's going to want to then go to your Liverpool, Chelsea's, Arsenal's, Tottenham's. I think because even Tottenham, I think, are bigger than Newcastle, to be honest, right now. And in terms of Núñez, I just don't think I don't think Newcastle would go for him. I think even though they're desperate, he's just not cut out for the Premier League. I think if Darwin Núñez went to Spain, you're getting 25, 30 goals a season out of him. I just don't think he's cut out for the Premier League. I don't know what it is. I think you've got to build your team around him, where Newcastle's formation and tactics are quite similar to Liverpool's. So they play with them 3 midfielders, and then they play with the left winger, right winger, and the striker. And I just don't think Núñez can be that sole number 9. I think Núñez, if he was at Liverpool with Wirtz, would do better than what he would at Newcastle. I wouldn't rule out Núñez eventually getting a loan to Newcastle, because he's probably going to get bought by one of the Saudi teams who own Newcastle, and eventually probably get a loan there if it doesn't work out, to be fair. But I think Newcastle's problem is targeting players that they aren't going to pick. Like if you're Sesko and you're seeing United now in Europe, you're seeing Newcastle in Europe, you sat there thinking, well, United are a big enough team to come back. Look at Liverpool. 10, 15 years ago, Liverpool were in the slums when we had Hodgson and stuff, and we've came back. And I think United will have a good season this year, to be fair. I think Amorum's a very good manager. We wanted them last summer. So I do think United will come back. I don't think they'll be challenging by any stretch, but I wouldn't rule out them finishing above Newcastle next year. And I feel like they're getting empty promises at Newcastle as well, because 6 months ago, Isaac was saying how happy he was and the challenging, and now all of a sudden he is forcing that move out. And I just think they're setting the bar too high. Like they went for, I don't even want to pronounce his name, Nketiah, who Liverpool bought, and he's obviously going to wait for someone like Liverpool. And then you look at Sesko, and Sesko could probably end up at 80% of the top clubs in the world. He's really, really good. So why would he choose Newcastle? And then there's bigger teams out there. Do you know what I mean? I think Newcastle will end up with someone mad like Nicholas Jackson. I think that's who who could potentially end up there, or even, I don't even know, Calvert-Lewin. It'll be someone mad who might even like, look at Chris Wood. He revitalised his career at Forest. Who's to say Lewin can't do that at Newcastle? But I just don't think who they're trying to get, because in all due respect, he wants to go and be managed by Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's a bit of naivety on?
Go for it.
Don't you think it's a bit of naivety on their end as well, though? Like, you brought up, they're just not a top club. That's the reality of it. They've waited how long? The transfer window, like, we signed Wirtz, feels like years ago now. Obviously, it's not years ago, but they had so long to maybe do this deal with Sesko. To think no one's going to be after Isak is silly on their end, you know. The reality is, anyone who you've just seen Liverpool lift the Premier League, they've signed Florian Wirtz, you know, will Isak want to even potentially think of joining Liverpool? You have to still sort of, you know, pull out moves that anticipate that before it's actually happened. You know, we did it. I know they're not like for like, but Oxlade-Chamberlain was performing exceptionally well before Coutinho left, playing midfield. He was scoring goals. He was getting assists, specifically against Man City as well. So, do you think on their end they could have sort of anticipated it a lot better?
Yeah, but I think they try to with Ekitike. Really similar players in their stature, what they do. There's plenty of stats kind of that make them similar players, or Ekitike could become a player similar to what Isak is. The issue is that Liverpool saw an opportunity, let Newcastle go in and then have a bid accepted, and essentially we beat that by being Liverpool, not actually beating the finances. It was more the name, and that kind of attracted Ekitike to come to us. Now they tried to be future proofing in that respect and bought in Hugo. They wanted to bring in Hugo, should I say. We wanted to get greedy and have that and still go for Isak, and that's going to be the situation. Now the problem here is, what happens if Newcastle don't sign a striker, guys? Now, Matty, the question is, do Liverpool force their hand, because Isak has essentially done everything he can to provoke and push this move forward in no short term, but he's gone on strike at this point in time. Liverpool, the thing that they need to do is put a bid in. Do they put a bid in, or did they say, right, we will respect the situation that you're in. We will wait either till January or till next summer because we've got a Hugo?
I think they'll still sell Isak even if they don't bring a striker in, because they're not stupid. I know they're new to football, but they're not stupid. If they hold on to Isak for another year, you've got a player who doesn't want to be there. I've seen reports today that apparently he told Newcastle this was his last season regardless, because I think he knew he was ready for that jump. So you've got a player who doesn't want to be there. The morale's down. Players in the squad are going to be thinking, why didn't you come on our pre-season camp with us? You've just been a divvy, basically. And you're trying to force him to then play 4 years for a whole season and expect 100% commitment when you've stopped him making his dream move. And it is a dream move. We've seen pictures of Isak when he was a kid with Liverpool shirts. It's a dream move for him, and they're stopping that. You then also factor in that next summer, you're probably only going to get 60, 70 million for Isak because his contract's got a year or two left on next summer, but it's a year less than what it is this year, and the value is going to go down. He's going to keep pushing that move. He might push it in January, and Newcastle's got to look at this now and think, do we take 70 million, 80 million next summer, or do we take 135 million this summer? Isak is Newcastle's Coutinho. If Newcastle want to progress as a club and progress up the table, you've got to make that big sale for PSR. If they sell Isak, I don't even know what they bought him for, but I know it's probably over £100 million of pure profit on their PSR. They can then go and buy X amount of players. Even if you spend 60 million on a player over 5 years, it's only 10 million off your books. So when Liverpool sold Coutinho, we obviously then went and got like Virgil and Alisson, and we strengthened the team in other areas as well, and we went on to win everything. I think Newcastle need to sell Isak to get the PS. You look at their squad, they haven't got anyone else valuable. Someone who's going to go for £100 million plus and fix finances for years to come. They haven't got that. Maybe Anthony Gordon, they might get 70 million for him, but it's not 130. You're talking double the amount of money. So they've got.
I think that all closed though last season when we were after him.
That was the chance, and I think that's what they need to learn from. That they would have sold Anthony Gordon last year. You get him good money for him, and obviously they put the blockers on now. And if they do it again this year, it's just stupid on their part because they need to sell. When you're in a position like Newcastle, you've got all the money, but you can't spend it. You do need to take a hit and lose assets sometimes in order to progress as a club. And it might seem tough for Newcastle fans now to lose Isak. He probably is on his day the best striker in the world. I strongly believe he's better than Haaland, but you've got to sell him in order to. And that's not naivety from us as Liverpool fans wanting to bring him into our club. I think if I was a Newcastle fan in their position, you've just got to stop and think like, well, selling him could buy us 5, 6, 7 players and take us that next step into the top 4. He could go and win an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup. They could challenge in Europe this year. They need to make that sale in order to buy it. And I think Eddie Howe knows that as well, because of some of his press conferences. To me, I sense that he wants that money because he knows by getting that money, he fixes his squad. Newcastle
the problem
in the Europa League.
But the problem that I've seen, Eddie Howe just doesn't get on with his sporting directors, Anthony, and that's the situation. So Phil Mitchell's not Phil Mitchell, he's a EastEnders guy. And Paul Mitchell, formerly of Monaco, really, really highly rated, was brought into Newcastle. He only lasted a year with Eddie Howe at the helm, and so he left at the start of June, just after the season finished. They haven't got a sporting director for anyone to kind of work through those or these deals, and that's the situation. So they're seeing issues of players wanting to leave, or their star player wanting to leave, and then they've got issues of trying to sign and get players across the line. Now, you are Eddie Howe. I'm going to take on Matty's point, which is excellent because I think that's the truth. Eddie Howe realises that he needs the Coutinho, the Isak level money to be able to take his team, the team, up a level and be more consistent, etc. Now, what do you do if you're Eddie Howe, Anthony? What do you say to the board? I need the money because the PSR is a issue, or do we kind of stick to our guns as a united front and say that we keep our best player?
I mean, again, like Matty said, obviously as Liverpool fans, we're going to say just sell him in it. But at the same time, you've almost got to, because it will help them with the PSR, but also just you like we saw it again. Like, I know I don't want to keep repeating everything Matty said, but we brought Alisson in, Van Dijk in, and we took another level, maybe another 5 levels upwards. So you've got to do that. You've got to sort of take them educated risks, because it's always going to be an emotional thing when your best player is potentially leaving. Like with us, Coutinho, like obviously I was younger, I was really sad that my favourite player is leaving. I think I mentioned to you, Charlie, I still got a Coutinho poster on my wall. So in that he never sort of fulfilled his Liverpool legacy. He has, because I don't think Liverpool fans can thank him enough. He's literally set us up. What we've achieved now wouldn't be possible without him. So looking back in a few years' time, maybe Newcastle could maybe not be in a similar position, but maybe they could be in a much better position than they currently are now, with 5, 6 strikers rejecting them in the space of a month. They can't find anyone to sign. So I think the best option is to sell him, because the amount of money they're getting is ridiculous. Like I said, it helps a lot with PSR, so they won't have to worry about that. And then 130, 140, 50 million was being sort of quoted by journalists. But and again, when they sign a striker alternative, not going to be worth anywhere near as much as 150 million. So just go for it.
And so, Matty, do we get to a point that we need to put a time limit again? We're talking in a way of pushing the narrative with Newcastle. Do we say it's 30th of July, at time of recording as of today? Do we say that we need a decision by, next week to allow us to be able to look at other things, because we need to push on with other deals that we want to try to complete? Centre back is what we need. Who else? Is there potentially for a left-sided attacker? Even though Rio has been an absolutely shining star this pre-season, what do you do now? Coming back to a Liverpool point of view, what's the next steps that you think we need to be taking?
I think it's Isaac or not. And for Liverpool, I think Michael Edwards has wanted Isaac since he was last year, and I think he's prepared to wait. If Liverpool go into the season, we probably need a left side attacker. I know Rodrigo's being linked as well. Rio is fantastic, but you can't rely on him for the whole season. But if you go into the Premier League season with the attacking force we've got now, you still probably put us favourites to win the league. We get Isaac, we're probably favourites for the league, the Champions League, every competition, FA Cup, League Cup. But I think we'll wait, and I think Liverpool won't go and get another striker. Maybe they hold on to Núñez for 12 months. Maybe he still goes, but I don't think that they would, because you look at Vert, he can play across the front three, Nketiah can play across the front three, Gakpo can, Salah can play down the centre or on the right. You've got Elliott, who can also play on the right or as the 10. Szoboszlai can play on the left wing. He does that for
Chiesa's still here. He hasn't been sold. I know there's an issue around him, but I would still love for Chiesa to have a future at Liverpool.
You can't lose the Luis Diaz song and the Chiesa song in one summer.
No.
That'd be suicide.
No.
I do think that the only dominoes we'd see is if we get Isaac. I think you then see like Chiesa go and probably Harvey Elliott go as well. where if he doesn't come in, you probably hold on to them because they're flexible players who can play across that front three. And that, I think Liverpool will wait. I think they'll try again in January. They'll try again next summer. And they will get Isak 100%, whether it's now or next summer. But I think with Newcastle, though, I just don't think they're going to bring anyone in, because imagine they go for a striker now. If Sesko goes to United, that striker's agent's going to say, well, we're like 7th choice option for you. Like, do you even want us? And I think that's where they've messed up. They've been feeding, clubs obviously feed everything to the media, but they fed every target to the media. So now players are looking at them thinking, well, if you would have got him, you wouldn't have got me, sort of thing. Liverpool just had no smoke about Nketiah, and it was just, right, we've got him. The only one we've ever spoke about is Isak, and I don't think we'll get someone else in. Maybe Rodrigo for the left wing, but I do not think we'll get another 9 if it's Isak or not. And if we don't get him now, we'll get him next summer, and we'll save half the money, and maybe that'll teach Newcastle a lesson, really. And it's not that like we're bullying them as like we're a bigger club we can get at Isak. It's just one of them things. Like Liverpool were in a Newcastle position when we lost Coutinho. We weren't challenging. We were just touching on Europe. We were having good cup runs, and it felt like the end of the world. Like Anthony touched on, it felt on the end of the world to lose Coutinho. He was one of the best players in the world. But now you look back and everyone hated him. Now you look back and you do thank Coutinho. You think, well, you've laid them foundations with that money and our PSR and stuff and allowed us to elevate. And I think that's what Newcastle need to accept. And if it means to go into the season with a Calvert-Lewin up front or someone like that, then so be it. You know, but it'll help them. I do think they'll bring people in. I've got this theory that I think Isak's done, but they don't want to announce it's done because clubs then know they've got £135 million to spend on players, and you've seen that historically as well with clubs. The dominoes fall into place, and I think the downside for Liverpool is strikers are just repeatedly rejecting Newcastle. So I do think he comes, though. I'm quite confident.
I have a theory to add to that, you know, bit of like a Lego bit. I think Nunes is already done for someone, whether it's Saudi. I think there's already a club that have made a suitable offer, and we are waiting for Isak for the trigger to be pulled, and then we will allow him to leave. But until then, he will still be part of the team. It's easier to sell Chiesa for, you know, same money or a little bit of profit. That's nice little turnover, little flip. But Anthony, kind of, the worst case scenario now is we don't sign Isak this summer. Are you happy with the options that we have going in? And Matty, you've already said that we're your favourites going into the league, or, you know, to be contending at least. Are you happy with Nunes being the backup for Ekitike or something along those lines? Are there other options available for us to look at? You know, Jadon Danns, I don't think he's gone on loan just yet, but, you know, there's certain things that we need to do. Do we look at other things, other players?
I don't think we need to look at other players. I think it's either Isak or no one else. That's how we've operated for some time now. Even like when we're after Caicedo, I know we signed Endo, but he wasn't signed to be a starting defensive midfield for us. But Nunes, no. I think he's ran his course now. It's time to go, because he's been here 2 seasons too long, in my honest opinion. He's not good enough. He scored 4 or 5 Premier League goals last season. I think 9 the season before, 10 the season before. He's not outscored Christian Benteke's Premier League season with Liverpool. That's how terrible he's been. He's been a horrendous signing. As much as he's brought us brilliant memories, don't get me wrong, he's certainly a character, and I'll thank him for that. But he's just not a very good footballer. It's as simple as that. So time to move on from him.
Yeah, no, I get that. Then there's another thing about it. Again, sporting director hat, because the money's available for us there. Do we look at Rodrigo? He's available. He's essentially twerked for us to say that he would like to play for us. He's already rejected Spurs if reports to be believed. But do we go ahead and look at him, because he can play in that front number 9 position? He's done it for Brazil, he's done it for Real Madrid over the years in certain games. He is another option that allows us to be more fluid when or if Isak does come through the door.
I think even if Isak comes in, I think we'll be keeping like a close eye on what's happening, because I don't think it's confirmed like he's leaving Real at the moment. If he is, then 100% you go for him. He's one of the best sort of young versatile wingers in world football, in my opinion. He's definitely an option. But if Isak is where the money's at, and I mean, like if you're paying 150 mil, you don't want to risk buying Rodrigo, so you can't afford Isak. I say just try your best to get Isak done. But if Rodrigo's available as well, then go for him. He's brilliant. But like I said, he can play striker, he can play right wing as well. They're not his best positions also. He's naturally on the left-hand side. And I think Cody Gakpo gets a lot of unwarranted hate from maybe it's a social media thing from Liverpool fans. I actually think he's unbelievable. I think he was our second best forward last season behind Salah. And I think it was up until he got injured just before the PSG match, but he was just on some brilliant form. So
Yeah.
I think you wouldn't really sign Rodrigo to then compete with Gakpo, because I think it's been mentioned, Slot said Ekitike can play on the left-hand side as well. And like you brought up, Real's been unbelievable in pre-season as well. So I can't see us going for him, but I'm not going to complain if we do sign Rodrigo.
And Matty, I think you pretty much agree with that as well. Rodrigo, does he float your boat? Is it worthwhile we look at other areas? Okay, do we pull the trigger on what Palace are after him, even though he's got 1 year left on his contract? Is it just a case of look at the options that we're trying to do?
I don't think Rodrigo is much better than Cody Gakpo. I also don't like Rodrigo's attitude a few years ago when he said, like, I could have signed with Liverpool, but I didn't want to, and that. Do one then. Don't bring up the club. But I mean, obviously, if we get him, I'm not going to be one of them ones who's like, oh my God, they got Rodrigo buzzing. He's got to prove his worth to me, to be fair. Just the way he's acted in the past, I think he's got a bit of an ego on him. And our lads strike me as people who don't have that ego. I mean, Rodrigo's a fantastic footballer, but I just don't think he offers much more than Gakpo. Like Anthony said, Gakpo for me is one of the most clinical left wingers in world football, and he's criminally underrated. Right? He's so good for Liverpool, and his ball work, his off the ball work, his movements off the ball, it's some of the best I've seen, and I think that's why he's rated so highly by Arne Slot. And I think especially with him being Dutch, he knows the Dutch way, and that's the way that Slot wants to play. And I wouldn't, if we get Rodrigo, fantastic, it's more depth. You're talking that you've got Gakpo and Rodrigo as your left wing options, but if we don't get him, I'm not worried. I'm quite happy to go into a season with our left wingers being Gakpo, Rio, and then you look at like Szoboszlai can play there, Wirtz can play there, so I'm quite happy to go into the season with the current front line, to be honest. Yeah, we probably need a striker, but if we don't get Isak, I'm happy to wait. I do think that this side, you replace. I've always preferred Gakpo to Diaz anyway, so I think Diaz is ultimately replaced because Gakpo will play more. And in terms of the 9, anyone's going to be better than Darwin Núñez. Like he says, it hasn't really got much of a ball game to step up to, has he? So it's already better than last season. The only worry is AFCON. When Salah goes, but
Frimpong.
Again, Frimpong can play there. You can play Bradley and Frimpong, and I think you'd probably see a shift in that. Maybe you'd see players maybe playing out of position but still doing well, and then not only onto last season's performance from the front, you then had Wirtz, who can bag 20 plus goals a season. So I think I've got a better strike force this year than we did last year, and we walked the league last year. And you look at the teams around us, Gyökeres I don't think will do well, to be fair, and City haven't all players where you're like, oh, I'm worried about City this year. Like, I'm not worried about City at all.
Just moments. They just can really, really purple patch type players. Nothing really going to be sustained. That's the way I see it anyway. That is definitely the way.
There's no one. Gyökeres will do all right at Arsenal, but I stand by my theory that if he was had the potential, Brighton wouldn't have sold him. Brighton don't sell players for cheap, and they sold him for cheap. And he's been in England and had a good season with Coventry in the Championship, but you look at if you take his penalty goals out of his goals, it's not an amazing record. Like people say, oh, he scored 50 plus goals last year. How many pens did he have in that? And then you look even further.
Bottom half.
Top half versus bottom. He scored about 2 goals against the top half of Portugal. And I'm expected to think he's going to come win Arsenal in the league. I'm not worried by anyone in the league this year. Chelsea are the ones that probably worry me most, madly enough.
Yeah, it just depends on whether Cole Palmer suddenly turns up and performs like he did probably in the first 10 games, 15 games last season, and does that over a whole season, how he can transform that team itself. But yeah, I think we're going to give it a wrap from the LFC Transfer Room. I'm Charlie Sehdeva. I've been joined by the brilliant Matty. I've been joined by brilliant Anthony. Thank you for joining me, guys. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like, drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more red hot content. Until next time, you'll never walk alone.